Attitudes towards EVs and more. There's a new survey out. Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from the state of Michigan is Chief Growth Officer Hillary Doe. Hi, Hillary.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, you've got a great title there that's pretty unique.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Michigan's first Chief Growth Officer, but you're right. Michigan's also the first state in the nation to name a Chief Growth Officer.
Well, you have a new survey conducted by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Give us the overview of what the focus is. I think clean energy for one.
Yeah, so we did a survey nationwide of 1,000 US adults. And what we found was that people overwhelmingly want to see more investment in sustainable technologies, clean energy, electric vehicle infrastructure, and also want the training and pathways necessary to ensure that those sustainable technologies are developed and made in their communities. We also saw that there's really an expectation in the public that those technologies will be designed and manufactured, right here in the US.
So tell us more specifically about some of the findings there and what these statistics look like.
Yeah, I mean, the results were really interesting because, like I mentioned, there really was quite overwhelming support in most cases. For example, when I mentioned that people do want to see more investment in those sustainable technologies, it was quite a high number. It was 71% of folks believe that even major investments in those technologies would ultimately pay off. And that's true, across generations. A majority of folks, irrespective of whether, you were Gen Z or baby boomer, believe that that's the case. So I think that shows, just real widespread interest and belief that these are going to be really critical industries and that it's critical that we have all hands on deck in the fight against the climate crisis, which of course, we've seen with some of the extreme weather events and some of the devastation recently in Houston, how important it is that we do have a workforce here and the industries here, capable of really inventing the solutions necessary to be in this fight.
Overwhelming support for anything seems like an anomaly these days, given the political divide.
That's right.
These issues
That's right.
cross the boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case. So because, for example, some of these numbers are 87% plus. For example, one good portion of the survey that highlights that is around this, section on manufacturing. So I mentioned that there's this expectation in the public that these technologies would be designed and made right here in the US. And in fact, again, to your point about, there being overwhelming, kind of support for anything being perhaps an anomaly, in this case, it was 87% of survey respondents said they'd actually be willing to pay even more for sustainable technologies if they were indeed, designed and made right here in the US. And so I think, again, that shows this recognition broadly. And if you're at 87%, it has to be sort of across regional and, partisan and every other kind of line, that, it's really critical that the US be, competitive globally in these areas and that, broadly, that kind of benefit, economic opportunity and innovation is shared among Americans.
Sometimes it seems the electrification push in homes, vehicles, etc., can be controversial and political as well. What did you find here?
Yeah, like I mentioned, kind of even in the areas of electrification, we're seeing broad support. So I think you're right. We do hear that sometimes. But I think what we're seeing in this case is, an interest in investing in the infrastructure, for example, that will make those kinds of technologies, even more appealing. So electric vehicles, for example, for perhaps some elements, some aspects of the market, might be nervous about adoption. But what we see in this survey is overwhelming support for things like electric vehicle infrastructure that would make it easier and easier to drive an electric vehicle, for example. And in Michigan, we've really, obviously, with our history in the auto industry and our future in future mobility and innovation in that area, we've really invested there and leaned in. I'm actually sitting in New Lab right next to Michigan Central Station, which is a sort of headquarters for autonomous vehicles and some innovation in clean energy and electric vehicles, including a self-charging electric vehicle road right outside of this space. It's the first one in the nation. So I can tell you that across this survey and across the nation, we're really seeing, continued support in the infrastructure that will be required to, help folks make this switch.
It does seem that some of the automakers, near and dear to you, of course, have pulled back a bit from the battery electric vehicle bandwagon, and they blame a lack of consumer demand. Is the survey finding something different?
I think the survey should give us all, a lot of, real confidence that we know that long term, this is the direction Americans believe that we are going and want us to go, and support these investments, and believe that they're ultimately, again, going to pay off in good investments. 71% of folks in the survey believed that even major investments in these sustainable technologies will ultimately pay off. There'll be good investments for the US economy and good investments for the country in this, important fight against the climate crisis. So yeah, I think that should bolster our sort of opinions of, these technologies. And frankly, again, we need all hands on deck in this regard. Again, Michigan has really put forward an ambitious climate plan. So we're certainly all hands on deck over here. We're #1 in clean energy investments, #1 in clean energy IRA-backed projects, and have set a goal of 100% renewables by 2050. So we're all in the fight.
There are a lot of worries today about technology, robots and AI, and workers fearing for their jobs. What did you learn about that, if you looked at that at all?
Yeah, so the survey did look at workforce and public perceptions of, workforce in the US. And what we found is that, workers do really want to ensure that they can participate in these new industries. So again, these overwhelming majorities of folks, 88% in this case, wanted to make sure that businesses were investing in and providing trainings so that workers could participate in these industries, and believed that businesses needed to provide these trainings in order to have the workforce necessary to make sure that these industries could, be successful here in the US. So I think that reflects, a real desire for workers, whether you're, designing and engaged in R&D, or manufacturing and making some of these technologies, to want to be able to participate in the economic opportunity that will come with US investment and leadership in these areas.
Job training, that's needed in many of these areas, right?
Yes, absolutely. And again, that's one of those areas that we've really tried to lean in on. Michigan, because we want to be leaders in these industries, like I mentioned, in electric vehicles, as well as in clean energy, has leaned in with sharp elbows here on the training side of things. Our talent action teams have created programs, including the Michigan Under Scholars program, for example, to help connect our students to fast-growing industries like semiconductors and electric vehicles. And make sure that those students can, stay here in Michigan with scholarship programs. And since 2023, I've already given out 150 of those, and that program's received national recognition for its innovation. So I think it's critical that, states get in the game here and support that workforce development at the same time as we're supporting, businesses in making that transition to build markets for clean energy, like we've done with programs like our Renewable Energy Credits program here in Michigan.
Interesting. Where can we go to learn more?
Yeah, so you can visit us at michiganbusiness.org to learn a little bit more about our programs and get involved. And folks can also Google the My Healthy Climate Plan. That's my MI, like Michigan, Healthy Climate Plan, if you want to learn a little bit more about, some of the plans that we've put out there, and hopefully other states can, feel free to take inspiration there and take some of this on. Again, we're all in this together.
Again, that first site was michiganbusiness.org. Hillary Doe, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.